Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly says the Canadian government is still working to get Canadians out of the besieged Gaza Strip.
We're extremely concerned about the situation in Gaza. Gaza is one of the worst places on earth to be right now.
There were plans yesterday to get Canadians out of Gaza through a border crossing with Egypt, but that operation was canceled due to violence in the area. We've also learned a fourth Canadian, 22-year-old Sheer Georgie, has died. Georgie's family laid her to rest in Israel yesterday. It's believed she was killed after Hamas militants stormed a music festival 1 week ago. 3 Canadians are still missing, and evacuation flights out of Israel continue today. Lisa Stadelbauer is Canada's ambassador to Israel. She's with me now. Hi, Ambassador. Good to see you. Thank you very much for making time for this.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Nice to see you as well.
I wondered if we could actually just start with the situation in Tel Aviv. Could you describe for us, I guess, what it's like there right now?
Sure. It's a little bit different than the Tel Aviv that we all know and love. Normally, this is a very bustling city, and this traffic is crazy, and it's a lot of noise and a lot of hectic people running around. It's very quiet here right now. Maybe a quarter of the traffic that you would normally see. People are staying very close to their homes, close to the shelters. We were just in bomb shelters 5 minutes ago, having heard the rocket sirens. So people are being very cautious. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry, a lot of tension.
Is it your sense that a ground offensive is imminent?
That seems to be what people are suggesting. I mean, the Israelis have been telling folks living in northern Gaza to move south. There seems to be lots of indications that that's going to be coming shortly, but we just don't know.
Does anything change for you and embassy staff should that be the case? How is the calculation, I guess, made about whether you remain there or whether you have to leave?
Well, it's really kind of day by day that we're assessing that, trying to see what's happening. If the conflict stays in the south and in Gaza, we're fine where we are. If the conflict in the south triggers conflict in the north, it becomes a slightly different calculation. But we have people here looking at it very closely. We have people in Ottawa looking at it very closely, and we'll just we're getting to be a little bit light on our feet to make some of those decisions.
Do you feel safe?
Mostly, yes. I have faith in the Iron Dome, and that's the Israeli defense system that protects the Israelis from rocket attacks. And our shelters are good, and the infrastructure here in Israel is such that people are never very, very far away from a bomb shelter. And there's a sophisticated system of sirens. And so we know that when we're in Tel Aviv, if we hear a siren, it's for us. It's that specific. And we have about 90 seconds to get to shelter. So we're coping.
I'm glad to hear that. You were describing some of the efforts underway to help Canadians who do want to leave Israel. I know that there have been a number of flights that have taken off so far. Can you update Canadians watching today on the exact number of Canadians that have been evacuated and how many, to your knowledge, remain still to do so?
Sure. The list, the total list changes from day to day, so it's a bit of a shifting picture. But we've had 6 flights so far, 2 a day since Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we've got 2 more going out today. As of the end of day yesterday, we were almost at 800. So I think by the end of the day today, we will have exceeded 1,000 passengers, which is great. How many are still on the list as of right now? We think we thought there was about 1,800 affected people altogether. So that's people who have signaled an interest. How that translates into people who show up at the airport is a different story. And so that's why, that explains partially why there's some seats going vacant, because we think people are going to show up and then they don't. But we're working through the list as fast as we can to get people assigned to flights. As I said, 2 more today, 2 more tomorrow. And then after that, we'll assess the need. We'll keep rolling as long as the demand is there.
Do you expect, if there is a ground offensive, that ability to be impeded at all?
We don't know. Certainly the commercial flights, there are fewer and fewer commercial options available, which is why the government decided to put on this assisted departure using Canadian Forces assets. What Israel does with its airspace, it's impossible for me to say. I don't know. We'll adapt with the current situation as it unfolds.
I know that your jurisdiction is Israel, Ambassador, but part and parcel, obviously, right now are the 70 Canadians who remain in Gaza. I know there were discussions underway to try and see, and this is obviously it involves many other countries, but to see if perhaps Egypt could open up its border. It seems like those efforts have failed for the moment. Do you have any update on the possibility of those Canadians getting out?
I don't have the most current information because, as you say, that's not my jurisdiction. I'm focused purely on what's happening in Israel proper. But my colleagues in Ramallah and colleagues in Amman and colleagues in Egypt and colleagues in Ottawa are working very, very hard talking to partners, talking to the Israelis, talking to the Egyptians to try and get those folks out.
And just finally, Ambassador, we have spoken to a number of Canadians. I know that the efforts are well underway now. You mentioned some sort of staffing up, increased capacity. There was a few days ago and at the start of this week some criticism from Canadians about what they felt was a lack of communication or an inability to get a hold of the embassy. How many more resources have been added to address that?
Sure. So normally we have 18 Canada-based staff, and that's from a number of different government departments, Global Affairs Canada, Immigration, Canadian Forces, and so on. And we have added 13 resources from Global Affairs, from Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada, and from Canada Border Services Agency. So those folks have been pulled from what we call the Standing Rapid Deployment Force. And they've come from different missions around the world that have more capacity at this time, and it's made a big difference here. Things are rolling very, very efficiently now at the airport.
And do they remain there as long as necessary?
Yes, that's the plan.
Okay, Ambassador, I'll leave it there. I appreciate your time today, and please, to you and the embassy staff, stay safe. Thank you.